Hello, hello, hello. This is Gresh from the I Am CEO podcast. I have a very special guest on the show today. I have Steve Markman of Markman Speaker Management LLC. Steve, it's awesome to have you on the show.
Thanks, Gresh. Great to be here.
No problem. Super excited to have you on. And before we jumped in, I want to read a little bit more about Steve so you can hear about all the awesome things that he's doing. And with over 30 years of experience in the speaker and conference business, Steve Markman is the founder and president of Markman Speaker Management LLC, a multi-service speaker agency founded nearly 30 years ago. Among his services, Steve conducts customized virtual training where he teaches the processes, strategies, and techniques of successfully attaining speaking engagements that are used to boost visibility and create thought leadership opportunities. Steve has helped hundreds of entrepreneurs, executives, consulting principals, authors, and people from all walks of life attain speaking engagements. He has helped clients in virtually all industries from startup to the Fortune 500. Steve also runs a speakers bureau division, providing keynote speakers for organizations worldwide, covering a wide array of topics. And prior to launching his firm in 1994, Steve headed up the conference divisions of leading organizations, including Comdex and the Conference Board. Steve, are you ready to speak to the IMCO community?
I'm ready.
Awesome. Well, let's do it then. So to kind of kick everything off, I wanted to hear a little bit more on how you got started. Could you take us through what I call your CEO story, and we'll let you get started with your awesome work?
Sure. Thanks for the opportunity. So I basically spent a lot of years doing writing and research. I worked for Forbes magazine. I worked for a consulting firm, and then I went to the Conference Board in New York to do writing and research and publishing articles and so forth for them. And then, as happens with many people, right place, right time, there was an opening for someone to create the conferences for the Conference Board, and my boss came into my office and said, "You're it." So I said, "Okay, sounds good." And that the rest, as they say, is history. So I actually was recruited by Comdex, which was at the time the largest and still was the largest trade show of any kind in North America. Attracted 200,000 people. It was for the personal computer industry. I went up from New York City to where I'm originally from, to Boston, to run their conference division, went to a couple of other companies, and then in 1994, I started my own business. And basically what I was doing was what I had been doing for about a dozen years before that, which was to create the content, the intellectual content of major conferences. And then IBM Consulting came to me because I had a business relationship with them on a sponsorship. And they said, "Look, we don't really have a good success right now getting speaking engagements. Can you do this for me?" So like any good consultant, I said, "Of course I can." And so I shifted over in an easy transition from creating conferences to representing the speakers for these conferences. And I got IBM consultants into presentations and conferences worldwide, which is what they wanted, from London to Shanghai, Tokyo, and everywhere in the U.S. It was a pilot program, went really well, and I thought to myself, this is a business for me. And so I focused ever since then, this was in the mid-90s, on doing this, now in my 27th year running Markman Speaker Management, and that's how it all happened.
Nice. I definitely appreciate that, and kind of like the evolution and the process of it, as you talked about, being in the right place at the right time, and it kind of blossoming and growing from there, and you being able to help out, so many organizations and businesses to be able to do that as well now.
Right.
Awesome. So I wanted to drill down a little bit deeper. I know I touched on it when I read your bio, and you did as well too. Could you take us through a little bit more on how you work with clients and what exactly that process looks like?
Absolutely. So I do work for two types of clients: for individual practitioners, entrepreneurs, authors on the one hand, and then on the other hand, I work for mid-size and large companies. So I've worked for on the side of the larger companies. In addition to IBM, I've worked with Bank of America and Subaru and all kinds of industries of all type, high tech, low tech, you name it. I've worked for a lot of big law firms and small law firms as well as a lot of professional service firms and a lot of PR firms. Many PR practitioners and PR firms hire me as a way to outsource the speaker placement activity that they don't know how to do as well for their clients. And basically, I do the work in two ways. I either do all the heavy lifting, as I call it, where a company would hire me for 6 months or a year to find the speaking engagements for them, do all the research, create the package of proposals that I submit on their behalf, and do all the follow-up work. That's one way. And the other way, which I started several years ago, was a more reasonably priced way for people who don't have a big budget, whether they're individuals or small companies, and that's to teach them how to find speaking engagements for themselves. And so I go through all the processes and techniques and tricks of the trade on the techniques of what they need to do a number of the elements that are necessary, from how to identify and research the conferences and speaking opportunities that are out there, now all virtual, but hopefully will change at some point in the near future, as well as knowing what kinds of materials they need to put together in terms of a bio, in terms of what's called a speaker abstract, which is a summary, 2 or 3 paragraphs of what they are actually going to speak about. And that all goes into the proposal that they need to submit for themselves. And I do that even for large companies where the corporate staff, the typically marketing folks, want to know how to do that if they don't want to bring someone like me in from the outside to do it for them.
Nice. I absolutely appreciate that, and kind of like the range of services you provide in terms of somebody that may be able to kind of or have to do either DIY or do done with you, as I like to say as well too, or also actually having you on board and being able to kind of outsource and bring you on to have you get speaking to organizations and opportunities for those organizations and businesses. And so I wanted to ask you now for what I call your secret sauce, and this could be for yourself personally or your business or a combination of both. But what do you feel kind of sets you apart and makes you unique?
So fortunately for me, in terms of my business, what I do is fairly unusual. The people that typically do what I do, finding speaking engagements, and by the way, I should make sure it's clear that these are, for the most part, unpaid speaking engagements. I have a separate speakers division, Speakers Bureau division, where organizations, associations, universities, companies need keynote speakers, and they want sort of a star, right? They want someone who's written several books or has some notoriety and has an already established name brand, and they're willing to pay for that. And those speakers want to get paid. That's, in many cases, that's 75 to 100% of their income is doing that. So I work with those kinds of speakers as well. But for the most part, what we're talking about in today's podcast is using speaking at no fee as a way to demonstrate one's expertise and generate business leads and get opportunities for thought leadership. So it's all of those things in one. It's basically boosting visibility and boosting awareness. And because I've worked with so many different industries, I have a perspective that other folks that might do this don't have. And those other folks that do this are typically PR firms, but their main business, their main talents lie in media relations. This is, I have sort of developed a niche area where I'm focusing only on the speaking. I don't do any other public relations. I don't do other kinds of marketing, whereas the marketing and PR firms out there, they do that. So that's my selling proposition, value proposition, if you will, having done this for over 30 years and understanding what conference organizers want from doing it for a long time and from having actually done that work myself, since I was one of those people. I was a conference organizer. And so when I talk to them and pitch a client or teach a client how to do this, I'm able to bring the perspective of what are the organizers looking for, so you say the right things and you do the right things.
Nice. Yeah, absolutely love that. And, as you were kind of early on explaining like the different aspects, of, how to pitch and different things that you need in place, I almost felt like it was like a language. And it's great that you've been able to kind of perfect and know the language, so well, because you have those different vantage points. It sounds like where you were running the conferences, you've been able to help out the speakers in different industries. So it allows you to really get and know how to put your best foot forward so that you can get, that gig and opportunity. And so many times I say the name of the game is all about being found. So visibility is huge, and the way by which you can do that in terms of speaking, getting your name out there allows you that opportunity to execute on whatever plan you might have. But people have to know about you a lot of times before that happens.
Yes, exactly.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So I wanted to switch gears a little bit, and I wanted to ask you for what I call a CEO hack. So this could be like an app, a book, or habit that you have, but what's something that makes you more effective and efficient?
Okay. So I would say that to do what I do well, and for anyone who I may train or coach to do it well, you have to be able to accept rejection. It's almost sales. You're not selling yourself in a way that you're making it say you're the greatest thing since white bread or Swiss cheese. You're actually just being persistent because it's so hard, and there's so much competition. The adage that people, one of the biggest fears they have is public speaking. That's probably true, but there's an awful lot of people that do want to speak. And so it surprises me how many people want to speak. And that is something that people have to realize. They can't give up. They may be rejected 15, 20 times, even by the same organization. And then they hit them again. And then it's all timing. It's all, okay, well, we rejected you not because we didn't like the topic, but we rejected you because we just had that topic last year. But it may be that it wasn't a written proposal that was well written. Maybe it was a sales pitch. And so they need to just try to figure out why they're getting rejected and not give up. I think so. Persistence is definitely what I say is for me and for my coaching has always been the success factor.
Yeah, I absolutely love that, because I think so many times, when you understand that the people that are quote unquote successful, the people that reach those, success levels that we're trying to reach, they didn't do it because they never got knocked down. They didn't do it because they never heard no. They didn't do it because they just got everything and every door opened up for them. It's because those doors sometimes closed, and then they knocked again, and then they knocked again, and then they tried to go to the window to knock, and then they tried to go to the back. They tried to do all these things to try to get to where their goals were. And I think when you have that persistence muscle, so to speak, it increases your likelihood of being success, because you don't stop until you get to where you need to be.
Precisely.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So now I wanted to ask you for what I call a CEO nugget. And this could be a word of wisdom or a piece of advice. It could be around speaking or some of the advice you give to your clients, or if you hopped into a time machine, it might be something you would tell your younger business self.
Okay. So I would say that if people often ask me, like, how do I find these speaking engagements? How do I do this? And there's a multi-level answer to that. There's all kinds of different ways, and the best way is, like we all do, is the magic of Google, right? So you do a search and you can figure that out. But my nugget of the day is ASAE, which stands for the American Society of Association Executives. And that is the association that is made up of all of the many associations that exist in the world. And in this case, it's specifically for ones in the US, of which I believe there are about 35,000 associations. This is a huge number. And they put out a directory, and they have a website that, even though it's focused on the executives of the associations, if you're somebody who wants to speak at an association, which is the most common place to speak, most common type of venue, they have a directory of all these associations, and you can look them up and cross-look up. And there are other ways to do that, but that I think is a good place to start.
Nice. Yeah, I definitely appreciate that. And again, like understanding the lingo and the language is so huge. So knowing those nuances and ways in which you can get more opportunities is absolutely huge. So I appreciate you for letting us know about that, because I think when you're trying to understand and tell your message and talk about the value that you provide to so many people, a lot of times you have to figure out how to do it and who to talk to. And I think when you get that expertise that you provide in so many different ways, to be able to understand that, hey, might be an organization as a place to start. It allows you to understand where to look and then start to learn from you what things that should I or do I want to craft in order to send order over to them.
Right, right.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. And so now I wanted to ask you my absolute favorite question, which is the definition of what it means to be a CEO. And we're hoping to have different quote unquote CEOs on the show. So Steve, what does being a CEO mean to you?
Well, I think what being a CEO means is taking responsibility for yourself and your organization. And in my case, my organization is, mostly me. And but that means that I have to be responsible, as many entrepreneurs are, for pretty much doing everything, right? So I have to do the work, but I also have to get the business. I don't have a large staff that I can say, let's get improve sales by 15% this year. I have to improve sales by 15% if that's the goal. And so I think that that's one thing that it means. And the other thing it means is, basically doing things that are going to help people. And whether that means selling a product or a service that people can use, yes, at the end of the day, it helps me feed my family and get what I want to do in terms of getting success. But at the same time, I have satisfaction, as I think most CEOs do, in doing something that's of value that will help people advance their career or advance their company. And so doing good, I think, is really as equally important as being a success for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I love that perspective and definitely appreciate that. Obviously, being able to be the chief cooking bottle washer, as sometimes people will phrase it, where you are, going to the grocery store, you're getting the groceries, you're cooking and preparing the groceries, and then you're cleaning the plate and doing all those things is so important. But I think a lot of times, as you talked about in that second, aspect of course, you want to be able to make sure that your cup is full and you're able to take care of those things that we need to take care of as entrepreneurs and business owners. It's absolutely huge, but really understanding why you do what you do and that value piece that you spoke about of when you're doing all those things to be able to empower people with the opportunity to be able to tell their story and get those speaking opportunities is absolutely huge. And I think so many times through the not so great days and sometimes the great days, we can lose perspective or insight on that. And when we remind ourselves of that, we understand why we're doing all the things that we're doing, because we're helping to provide so much value for those people, those organizations, and the world as a whole.
You bet.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, Steve, truly appreciate that definition again. And I appreciate your time even more. What I wanted to do is pass you the mic, so to speak, just to see if there's anything additional you can let our readers and listeners know. And of course, how best they can get hold of you and find out about all the awesome things that you're working on.
Sure. Thanks, Gresh. So basically, I just wanted to mention that anyone listening to this podcast through the end of June of 2021, I am offering a 10% discount for my 2-hour or 4-hour virtual training on how to get speaking engagements. So if anyone wants to avail themselves, they can contact me through my website, which is www.markman, M-A-R-K-M-A-N, speaker.com. And I'd be happy to chat with them about anything that they want in the speaking realm for no obligation for the next 6 months. And then if they want the training, I can explain how that works, and happy to talk to anybody about that as well.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. I truly appreciate that, Steve. We will have the links and information again in the show notes. And I think sometimes one of the best ways we can be, more successful as entrepreneurs and business owners is to lean on the expertise of really great individuals that know their craft and know their business more than anything else. So I truly appreciate you for spending some time, today, of course, for offering, that to our listeners and our readers as well, too. And I appreciate you again, my friend, and I hope you have a phenomenal rest of the day.
Thanks, Gresh. Thanks for having me. Hope you have a great day as well.